profusely while he
don't miss.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back with another reaction video. And as we all know, Logan Paul will be fighting Dylan Dennis soon. And we are accustomed to Wade and Face Sensei making breakdowns of the fighters leading up to the fight. And recently, we haven't had much from either camp in terms of sparring footage that could be broken down. But recently, Logan and Dylan uploaded videos of themselves sparring. You wouldn't really say that you could make much of a breakdown from it, but it was more than enough for Wade and Face to break it down. But I believe that it was only Wade that broke it down. And Logan Paul was not fond of the words that Wade had to say. So he went on his podcast and he said some things about Wade, and Wade is now clapping back. So let's get into it.
All right, so we are back for one reason and one reason only, to respond to Logan Paul. You guys didn't know, today I was mentioned on Impulsive's podcast, and I guess my name was mentioned by Geriatric Mike in between sips of his Metamucil and was promptly bleeped kind of in a half-assed way because it seems like that's how Logan runs a lot of his businesses these days. But let's just see, what did Logan get so upset about, and I'll respond. The breakdown, let's go.
I saw some sparring footage of you. You haven't learned anything over the past couple of years. Your head movement looked really bad. Your foot movement was the same. Your hands were still down.
Your head movement and your foot movement and the hands down, I'll agree to. The other stuff Mike's a little inaccurate on, and some of it's quite frankly made up, like Mike's entire persona and YouTube career. But yes, I didn't make a video being critical of Logan's pattern of boxing in the last 2 to 3 years, and that not much has changed, especially in his mannerisms, his movement, and mostly his technique from the Floyd Mayweather fight and even fights before that, where Logan still employs the same low hands based almost purely on athleticism, offense, and defense. That will be problematic as he continues to box, if he continues to do this, for reasons that I'll explain in a second. But let's hear Logan's response.
Wait,
what
sparring
footage you talking about?
There was a sparring footage that dropped. It was a club. I'll be honest, it was a short clip.
How short?
Like 1 second, maybe 2 seconds.
Oh, hey, Matt, listen, I didn't even realize Mac is back on the show. It's good to see, because, you know, most of the co-hosts, by the way, Jake is just, Jake's like, yeah, I'm not taking part of this conversation. Which, again, I don't understand why Jake was even brought into this from people online. It has nothing to do with Jake. It has everything to do with me and Logan's thoughts on my evaluation of his boxing technique. Jake was somehow shoehorned into this to be like, look, Wade, Jake didn't defend this. Jake doesn't have to do any of that. His responsibility is not to defend me, ever. That's my job. Jake is just there on the podcast. But it's good to see that Mac is back on the show. I don't know if this is a...
Well, firstly, I must say that I did not watch the podcast. I only saw little clips of it, and Wade's absolutely right. I don't think it is Jake Paul's job to defend him, but he did a tremendous job by not fully committing to this conversation because, of course, Jake has ties with Wade, and it would be absolutely dismal if he was to completely agree with Logan on what Logan has to say. And I believe that in the clip that I saw, Logan tried to reel in Jake in order to make it seem as if Jake is on Logan's side. But Jake Jake played it pretty well by not engaging in the conversation as much as he possibly could.
A full-time deal or not, because he was with the show and then promptly left when he got a little too feisty with Logan over opinions that Logan didn't want to hear. Same thing happened to Spencer. I'm pretty sure same thing happened to George Janko. But hey, maybe this time will be different. Just, Mac, you better learn to keep that mouth shut while Logan's talking, because we all know you don't like that criticism and or opposing viewpoint. So listen, I hope he stays around this time. Mac, I thought you were a good co-host on the show.
82 seconds, but long enough for to make a 12.
Yo, don't even say that dude's name. Yo, don't even say that.
Nah, that shit was crazy.
Yo, how
bro.
desperate you gotta be.
He made a 12-minute video.
See 2 seconds of sparring footage in the middle of a combination and make a 10-minute video out of it. How do you even do that?
Let me just say this. Dylan Dennis put out sparring footage, and it was a couple of seconds short. Logan went on and made a reaction video to it, and he supposedly was supposed to teach Dylan Dennis how to box, and he put out a video of himself sparring. So technically he did the exact same thing for views in a sense. So a little bit hypocritical, but we are accustomed to Wade making these reaction videos, analyzing and breaking down the fighters. So I don't see any wrongdoing on Wade's part.
If I could milk life like that, I would. Honestly, all power to the
Oh
guy.
yeah, shout out to him,
That's
bro.
that's
Appreciate it.
incredible. To be able to like make something out of nothing, and then the fact that people give a fuck.
So Mike wrongly says I made a 12-minute video out of it, but Logan accurately says that I made a 10-minute video about 2 different people sparring footage. But again, there's general terms being thrown around, so I'll be more specific. Logan and Dylan Dennis had new sparring footage come out that, yes, was very short. From 8 seconds from Dylan Dennis, 4 or 5 seconds from Logan. And again, I say what I see, and when I am given sparring footage that is an update, because Logan's been out for 2 years, and quite frankly, Dylan hasn't really ever shown much, I will take what I see and say that. You can call that desperate, you can say I'm making something out of nothing, but hold on to that thought, because Logan's saying that's pretty ironic. But what I try to do is give the influencer boxing audience, and really anybody that watches that video, an idea as to what they are going to see from said fighter in said fight. Am I wrong sometimes? Yeah, I am. Because yes, fights do happen to be a little bit different than sparring, but generally your technique as you spar will be your technique as you fight. Now, what I said about Logan was simply that I don't think there's much difference in his technique or in his approach to fighting in the 2 years off he had versus Floyd. In fact, I think it's about the same thing that we're going to see in Logan's fight with Dylan, with, of course, some improvement because he's been training the sport, in his words, over those 2 years. But I think his technique, I think his reliance on his athletic ability and not necessarily his hand placement defensively and or not being able to take a stiff jab and sit down behind a right hand and really look to be an imposing boxer, even off the back foot as a counter fighter, with some bend in his knees and balance in his stance, is not something Logan's really ever had. And that sparring footage, which, by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, yes, was only a couple of seconds, but it still reflected the same things that we had seen from Logan previously. An arm punch uppercut with his foot off the ground, one jab, one right hand that were both, again, arm punches to set up a nasty lead left hook, which I, in the video, said was a nasty lead left hook. That would have been even more powerful if the combinations preceding it hadn't left him off balance to throw that shot. That is what I said. Now, if you guys don't agree with that assessment, let me know, but I'm still waiting for Logan to disagree about what I said.
And to be fair, he's absolutely right. And I don't think it is anything negative that he said. That is just what is true. If you look at that footage, if you compare Logan Paul to when he fought Floyd Mayweather, and you compare Logan Paul in that video that he uploaded, it's the exact same. Nothing has changed. Perhaps, as Wade has mentioned, he's been training for 2 years. Perhaps there's been some improvement, but based off of that footage, there hasn't been any improvement. It's the exact same Logan Paul, and there's nothing wrong with it. Wade is just doing his job. He's doing what he loves, and he's telling us what he sees. And once again, he's mentioned he could be wrong. He could be wrong. But one thing I wanted to touch on that Logan said was that he would do the exact same thing Wade did if he had the ability to milk the moment and make something out of nothing. And I must say that his ability to be hypocritical and point fingers is one to be admired, because I believe that his whole career has been based on making something out of absolutely nothing. And now he's trying to project that onto Wade, which I think is fully wrong. I mean, he's committed so many atrocities and is delusional enough to get on the screen with a straight face and point fingers. That is absolutely delusional. I must give it to him, though, because it takes a tremendous amount of balls to sit yourself down, point fingers, and to say that, hey, I'm the good guy here, as he's doing with Dylan Dennis. I'm the good guy. You're a scumbag. I think he's found a new role, to be honest, and that is delusion and hypocrisy. Delusion because, of course, he is used to playing the good guy. He's supposed to be seen as the good character in all of this, but he's not, so he's delusional. He's deluded himself into believing that he's still the good guy, which we all know that he's not. And hypocrisy because he has done so many things in his past, and now he's condemning people for doing wrong things same way he did, if not less than what he did. I don't know. It's something to be admired. Let's continue.
Not to even make this a deal, because it's who cares how long it took for me to say what I wanted to say, but Logan's part of that video was about 2 minutes and change. not 10 minutes. If I were Logan Paul, I'd relax a little bit on calling someone else desperate to make YouTube content based on the links that Logan himself will go to for some YouTube content. But let's get back to the hard hitting, and I'm not talking about Logan's potential in the ring. Let's see what he had to say about why I shouldn't be talking.
Like, who are you to be commenting anything about fighting? Do you know even anything about this sport, or are you a commentator? Do you engage in the activity? And I think, like you said it, and you posted something funny the other day on Instagram, something about combat, so many armchair quarterbacks. Why does everyone that watch fighting think that they know fighting?
Oh, there's the moment.
You can see in that moment, Jake is trying really hard to compose himself and gather the words to answer that question without seeming as if he's taking Logan's side. I believe that he's thinking, should I actually answer this? But I see what my brother's doing is trying to manipulate this whole situation. And in the end, whatever he said, it could make him look bad too, because him and Wade are boys as well. I don't know what was said. I probably should go watch the whole podcast, but I didn't. Anyways, let's continue.
There it is right there. I'm an armchair quarterback. I don't know. I was hit with the Spider-Man thing. He essentially tells me that I don't know anything about the sport based on the fact that I've never fought as a pro like Logan has, I guess, or questions my qualifications to say what I said. Again, I don't hear Logan arguing the criticism I made, the actual words that I said, and let's be honest, you watched the video long enough to know the timestamp of when it ended, so you know what I said, but I didn't hear any disagreements there. Now, my qualifications aren't even the level of Logan Paul as a boxer. They're not. I can't argue that, but I never have claimed to. In fact, I've never even said I'm a boxing expert. I've never said I'm a combat sports expert, but those experts, those boxing and combat sports experts have reached out and praised my analysis of influencer boxing and even higher levels of boxing. You don't believe me, you can ask the Dan Hardys, you can ask the BJ Floreses, you can ask the Vidal Rileys, you can ask the Tony Jeffries. I may not possess their credentials, but I do possess their blessing. And again, you don't need to be a fireman to see a house on fire and go, yeah, there's flames coming out of that roof. And as far as Logan's boxing tech,
Pow, 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 pow. Let's go, Wade.
technique. It takes two eyes that's educated on watching this sport, and again, yes, practicing, albeit in a sparring sense and or training the sport, not fighting as a pro, to see patterns of development for years and years and years at a time. I think Logan thinks that I just based his boxing technique off of a 5-second video, when I've seen this same Logan Paul for years and years and years at a time, dating back to KSI Logan 2, the fake spar he had in his backyard with the Wish version of Ivan Drago, the time where he went to try to beat up all three of the Gronk brothers and actually got caught with punches because his athleticism wasn't enough to save him from a longer person, even when they had never boxed before. When the Floyd Mayweather fight happened, Logan also had those same tendencies to have his hands low, to rely strict
Receipts, baby. Pow, pow, pow. Receipts, baby.
on his head movement and athletic ability, which again is why when Mike said he didn't have any head movement, I don't know what he was talking about. But my whole point is there's a pattern here, a pattern of maybe it's not even making the same mistakes. Maybe it's just an acceptance of what Logan wants to be as a fighter and throwing away certain aspects of the sport and sacrificing them to be able to do things his way. That's fine. It's just my opinion that it will not serve him in the long run. It will be detrimental if he continues to raise the level of his opponents to a point where someone like Jake or KSI is, where they're fighting the Tommy Furies. That will catch up to him. But if he doesn't care about that, then that's okay. So long story short, no, I'm not a professional boxer. I'm not an analyst that's a high-level expert. No, I'm not. But the people that are have said the same things I'm saying. There have been people in this scene, Vidal Riley, for example, that have made countless videos about Logan's inability to grow because he limits himself with his style and his technique. That isn't just us making it up. That is just what it is. And while that style is something Logan's willing to run with, I'm going to say what its flaws are. I'm going to say where Logan's flaws are. If I'm able to see it, I will say it. But the reality is Logan questions my qualifications and not Vidal Riley's because I'm louder than anybody else. That's really what it is. I'm blessed to have all you guys here at this channel. And because of that, and because you guys are interested, like he said, people give a fuck. I wonder why. I just want to go back a second to one thing Logan just said, because I don't know if I heard exactly what I think I did. Let's take it back a sec.
If I could milk life like that, I would. Honestly, all power to the guy.
Yes.
There it is. If he could milk life like that, I would. What
Receipts, baby. Let's go. Receipts.
I do on my channel is, again, say what I see. I break down boxing footage that's publicly available, whether it's 4 seconds or 30 minutes and give the best analysis I can on said video. You didn't want anyone to see or have any words for you breaking down a 4-second video, then you probably shouldn't have put it out, which again is perfectly viable. Most sparring shouldn't be released. I'm not a big proponent of it actually being public footage, but if it's out there, I'm going to give my opinions on it. But that's quite literally the opposite of making something out of nothing. I spent 2 minutes talking about something you did for 5 seconds that was repeatable over the last 2 years based on your technique. But it's ironic that Logan is the one to bring that up and say he wishes he could do that. Well, Logan, you don't have to wish. That is what you've done throughout your...
Just before Wade carries on, I myself must say that I've been watching Wade ever since he started. I won't say exactly since he started, but I've been watching his journey, and I must say that he does his homework. He doesn't just get on a screen and ramble about whatever it is that is the hot topic at the moment. He does his homework, sits down on that chair, and he tells us everything that he analyzed. And I must say he does his homework. So I don't know what Logan Paul's problem is. Let's continue.
Your entire YouTube career, you have made something out of nothing. Logan made fake vlogs about fake situations that were scripted, planned for, shot, edited, and delivered to you people as real. Almost 0% of Logan's vlog career, which again propelled him to stardom, had any sort of substance. The videos were quite literally the definition of making something out of nothing. Whether it was Logan faking his own death in front of his 10 to 13-year-old fans, and they watched him pretend to get shot and bleed profusely while he...
I was definitely not aware of that. And I must say that I'm completely aware of how pranks go and how content is created, but there's a certain line that should not be crossed. As Wade mentioned, there were 10-year-olds there, perhaps, young kids, and for them to watch such a thing, especially such a thing happen to someone they admire. I mean, those kids are probably Logan's deepest fans. For them to see that, imagine the trauma that they could have from that moment. That is a scummy move. I was definitely not aware of that.
Told his camera crew to drag him away like a dead body. I'm not sure what Logan's fascination with that is, but it's so fucking weird and disgusting. Or on a lighter note, when Logan decided to fake the fact that his color blindness was cured by putting on a pair of knockoff Ray-Ban glasses and then fake crying in a video as if he had just seen Jesus Christ in the clouds. And Logan posted it to get reaction and views, which again would be the definition of making something out of nothing. And do we even need to go the route of talking about Logan fucking Jake's ex-girlfriend and then making a diss track on Jake, putting her in the video to let him know that he did do that? That'd also be making something out of nothing, right? We've already talked about CryptoZoo.
Let's go, Wade. Way with the receipts, boys. Let's go.
But more so, it's just the irony of someone being involved with shilling NFTs to be able to say that I made something out of nothing when that's the entire purpose of an NFT is to...
Based on the receipts and the verbal fluency of Wade in this reaction video, not reaction, in this clapback, I believe that if he was to have a face-off with someone for a fight, it would be a total verbal onslaught. He just brings out the receipts, buddy. There's no gimmick. It's just being straightforward. Let's go. Pow, pow, pow.
Money by trading back and forth a perceived value of an online fat fucking load of nothing. And then you bring up the whole liquid marketplace situation with Logan and the fact that he bought a fake box of Pokemon cards that were supposed to be high value, but the entire time Logan knew they were fake, didn't actually pay the money to buy them, and then faked a reaction for it on video so you guys could see him go like this. So, Logan, what I do on YouTube...
This guy's whole life is an act. No wonder why he's doing WWE. Come on, let's go, Wade.
Is make breakdowns out of actual footage that does actually exist and is real, that isn't fake. That's your expertise. I know you got those big arms, but I still wouldn't throw stones in a glass house. Or in this case, multi-million-dollar house that you made off making something out of nothing. But that's my response to Logan. You don't like that I don't have the qualifications, in your opinion, to say the thing that I saw. And again, what's been pretty clear over your boxing career, the route you've chosen to box. You don't have to like what I said. You don't have to like my qualifications for it. But I'm going to keep giving my opinion on combat sports. And I make my videos because I truly love the sport. Whether that's boxing, MMA, pretty much all combat sports, I enjoy watching and yes, in the time that I can, participating in my own way. Logan, if you still have any issues with what I said, you can talk about it. Your show, my show, doesn't really matter. Let's be clear, it will be real and there'll be no faking or cutting like you did with Dylan Dennis in the face-to-face. That's where I leave it, man. Logan, it's pretty simple, man. There's patterns in your boxing career that don't change, and it's funny enough, they kind of reflect life in a way, don't they? Or maybe Logan's right, and I'm just the YouTube boxing commentator that doesn't know what he's talking about. Either way.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
Yeah, hey, Tony Franco, it's Wave.